Hello friends, I hope everybody's doing well, and welcome to part 3 of the 1956 Gravely Model L. Okay, so in part 2, we got as far as adding the governor to the tractor here. And yeah, I filmed putting the governor on itself, and I think you got part of installing this linkage here. This linkage was already attached to the governor, and I had to change the bell crank here to accept this rod to come through here, and then we put that clip on there and clipped it on. And I started it up off camera, and I noticed that it was running too fast. So what I did was I loosened the bell crank nut and bolt here, okay, and on the inside here, on the inner part, is where the throttle plate is, and I pushed it all the way down to idle, and then I retightened this up again. And the problem I had was I bumped into the tripod and the camera went out of view. So to continue putting the governor linkage on, what I had to do is take this front carburetor bolt support out, and then you have this linkage here, and then what you have is a rod that goes back here with a spring on it. And to install that, I installed it wrong the first time. The longer part's supposed to come out this way, and there'll be 2 holes in here. I guess you're supposed to put a spring in there, but I don't know anything about that. It seems to work all right without that. And what you do is you put this rod, has a Z-bend, you put that in first, and then you mount this to the top of the carburetor here and put that carburetor bolt back in, the support bolt. And I got it to idle right, but I'm thinking, since it's idling okay, this bell crank looks like it's too far forward. Now, when you throttle it up, you're supposed to throttle it up all the way here, and it was just supposed to run at a normal RPM without racing or anything. This races. So today what I want to do is I'm going to start this thing up and let it warm up. I'll do it off camera, and there's an adjustment here for this rod here that goes up to the bell crank. And I'm thinking I'm gonna have to loosen that some, because when I go full throttle with it, like on my other tractor, like this spring is already like tensioned out. So I think we have to adjust this rod here to, I would say, bring this rod back some. Or will it make, oh yeah, if I bring this back some, it'll take the tension off of this. And I think if we throttle it up to full throttle, it'll run at its normal RPM. The whole object of the governor is you don't want it racing when you put the throttle to full throttle. You want it to run at that normal RPM, and then when you're cutting grass, the more throttle it needs, the governor governs the throttle here, and it'll pick up the speed to compensate for the power you need. And to me, it's not working correctly. So I'm going to warm this up for a minute, and I'm sure we're going to have to probably readjust this bell crank here, because to me it looks like it's too far forward and it probably won't get full throttle. Alright, so I'll be back to you. What I'm going to do is, when I come back to you, we're going to loosen this support bolt here and move this rod out and see how it does from there. Okay, so right now I have a 5/16 socket on the ratchet here. So we're going to loosen this rod here that goes to the bell crank on the carburetor here. And see if we can adjust it. That's pretty tight on the rod here. Alright, so I'm going to put it to full throttle. I had to move that quite a bit here. Alright, so it's at full throttle. What happens if I'll put it to idle, and then I'll just bring this back some here, so there's still some flex in the spring. Alright, so that's back at idle here. I'll tighten this up and I'll see when I hit it to full throttle if that spring's still flat. I think it looks like we went right back to where we were in the first place, I think. I have no experience with this. I told you in part 2. I have no experience with these governors here. Alright, so we got that tight. Alright, to me it's pulling too much. Now it's really stuck on pretty fast throttle here. Do we move this bell crank again? Back? I'm not really sure. I'm not sure what to do here. Alright, I have it back to idle again. Let me loosen this. Let's see now. I'm so confused with this thing. It's not funny. I might have to go look at the other tractor. I don't know, from what I saw on the other tractor, this stayed loose even when I put it to full throttle. And I think it'll pull the spring once the governor... Oh no, it doesn't work that way. I'm really confused with this. I might have to go look at the other tractor to see how that is again. I just did and I forgot. I wonder if we should move this bell crank back too and then continue making the adjustments. Alright, I'm going to loosen the nut and bolt on the bell crank, and like I told you, it looked too far forward to me. I'm going to try to bring that back and then we'll try to make the adjustment. So I'll be back to you. Okay, so I brought the bell crank back. I'll show you in a second. Right now I have it on full throttle, and the throttle is really pinned full here. So I'm going to loosen this rod again. And I don't know where to put this, really. Do I put it back to idle? No. I don't know, I looked in the service manual, that didn't help, and the videos that I did watch, I didn't understand how to adjust these things. You just have to keep experimenting with it, I guess. See, the trick is, I don't want the throttle to go too far up here. This thing seems like it's all the way full throttle. Or maybe not. Should I just try to start it up like this and see how it is? See, if I set it like this, then It looks like you're not getting full throttle here. Let me loosen this again. Let me see where full throttle ends up. Okay, your full throttle ends up right there. But this is all the way in here. Is it the governor that's not working right? I wonder. See how much tension is on this spring? Unless I move the spring in some here. I don't know, I have to fiddle around with it and I'll be back. I don't know, maybe when I start it up, like right now I have it on idle and it's like it'll go back to idle. So maybe when I start it up, this arm here is supposed to flex out. I don't know. I think I'll just try it like this right now and we'll see how we end up. Now when it's on full throttle, I'm hoping this rod pulls back because right here, right now, that's too much throttle when you put it to full throttle. So I'm just going to start it up like this right now and we'll see how it goes. I think I'll try to adjust it while it's running. Because when I put it to full throttle, it's still throttling up too fast. So let's see if we can do this. I'm sorry, it's going to be loud. Like that when it's on full throttle. When it's not on full throttle, right? Kind of even too fast, but if I loosen this and make my rod here longer, it seems to be working out. Set up full. Let me tighten this up and see where it's going. Full throttle, but your RPMs are too low. throttle, that's good. That sounds good to me. Yeah, let me set this up a minute. Okay, so in part two, the governor, it worked. You could hear it working, but like I said, when it was on full throttle, you don't want the throttle up that much. It's up to the governor to throttle it up more when you need the power, when you're cutting grass or snow blowing or whatever. But I think I have it set pretty good right now. It's at a comfortable RPM when I throttle it all the way up and it idles. So, okay, so what's going to happen now is it's probably going to take about another 3 weeks. I want the grass in the field to grow pretty high. So it's probably going to be a few more weeks before we test it again. And as I said in part two, I didn't like the way it was racing when I had it on full throttle, but the governor was working. I could tell the governor was working. So for you, it'll be about a second. For me, it'll be about 3 weeks. And we'll come back and we'll test it again and make sure it's okay. So it's been about 10 days now. And the field has grown grass some more. It's at a pretty good height to where we could test this governor out. So, in my previous video, I have a subscriber who still has his father's 1963 Gravely Model Li. And he pointed out that there's 3 different governors for these tractors. Over the years, I guess they just changed brands. The one on my other tractor here, the C8, yeah, that appears to be a different governor here. Okay, so this morning I just made another adjustment here, and on the bell crank, I had it adjusted to where it was back further for the idle. I just moved it forward a little bit, and I adjusted this rod again. And what I did was, there's another linkage here with a spring. I put the spring all the way in because the problem I was having at full throttle, it was still running a little bit of a high RPM. Well, a lot of a high RPM it was running. I got it to where the fast RPM is not too bad, but since I'm the only one that's going to be running this, I could just back it off a little bit to the comfortable amount of throttle that I'll need. And this still works. When the governor works, it'll still get its full throttle. It'll just take, you know, how much ever throttle it needs under a load. So I think it's going to be okay. Okay, so the subscriber I was telling you about with the with his grandfather's Model Li, he said that he Googled it, and if I need any information on any of the governors, that he would email it to me, which I want to thank you very much. I don't want to mention his name, but you'll probably see him in the comments if you watch the last video here. So what I'm going to do now is I'll take it out to the field, and we'll see how it does. The governor appears to be working, you know, when it's running. So it's a good working governor, but we'll give it a test and see how it does. And then after I'm done cutting the field here, I'll close this video out. Be back in about a second. Okay, so I'm going to take it down the center first in case it stalls. But as you can see, I think you can see it on camera that the grass did grow pretty much. Okay, so let's just try it and see what happens here. Okay, so I can definitely hear the governor's working. There was no stalling, or it didn't want to even stall. I think I have it set pretty good. I'm gonna hit the throttle all the way up, and you can see what I mean by I think it's running too high of an RPM. It comes back to idle real good when I get off the throttle, so I'm happy about that. But the only thing I'm not happy about is when I hit the throttle all the way up, it still runs a little fast. And as you saw, I did make that other little adjustment to where that rod with the spring goes onto the governor shaft on the inside. So that seemed to help a lot. And then Like I said, I adjusted the belt crank, so it was just right in the center, and I just made sure when the governor was fully activated that the throttle would go full throttle there. So let me let you just hear this, and then I'm going to post the video. So you can hear when I throttled it up all the way, the RPMs, they're too high for me. So I'll just back it down to where the RPMs are where they're at right now. And the governor still works, you know, the way as it should. And that's going to be it on this video. This is part 3. This is going to be a final on Dad's 1956 Gravely. And I hope you enjoyed the series, or I hope you just enjoyed this video, if this is the only video you watched. I'll probably put part 2, I'll pin it in the comments if you want to watch part 2. Thanks for joining me on this tribute to my father's tractor here. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you on the next one, and stay safe.